Hey, hello everybody. My name is David Royer. I'm going to be hosting this webinar, and welcome. I appreciate your being on today. This webinar is scheduled to last for just under 1 hour. And just a couple of things I wanted you to know going in. You're going to be muted throughout the webinar just because of the number of people that we have on the webinar. But there's a panel that should have shown up on your screen, and there's a place where you can type in questions. So please, as you have questions, feel free to type them in, and we will get back in touch with you to make sure everybody's questions get answered. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Back in 2002, there were some major changes in the tax code that created a tremendous financial planning opportunity. So in 2002, I began to build the course Keys to the IRA Kingdom, and this course is designed to train advisors in IRA distribution planning. We have had to date thousands of advisors attend the course, and we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about a marketing book, and we're going to go through 5 techniques, 5 IRA rollover techniques that you can begin to use immediately. These techniques will be partially will have come from my course. Some of them will have been extracted from the book. So with that, let's get moving. I want to point out this webinar is being sponsored by Insurance WebEx. They are one of America's leading sources of educational web classes. A little bit about me. My company is DLCA Enterprises, and we are 100% about IRA rollover success. It's about selling more annuities, more life insurance, more managed money to owners of qualified accounts, including IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, TSPs, etc. What DLC Enterprises is not is we are not an FMO. So there's no recruiting involved in this. This is simply about a course, and it's about a book that will help you capture more IRA rollover accounts. So let me introduce the 2 components of what we're going to talk about today. First is going to be the Keys to the IRA Kingdom online advisors IRA distribution training course, and a book that will help you market to those that have IRAs and 401ks. And the name of the book is Top 10 IRA Mistakes and How to Avoid IRS Tax Traps. Now, the Keys to the IRA Kingdom is an IRA 401k rollover training system. It's to help you learn specific techniques that when you're sitting down with a prospect or a client that owns a qualified account, you're going to know exactly where to go to capture that account. The book, Top 10 IRA Mistakes, is an IRA 401k rollover marketing system. This book is written and designed to disturb your clients, make them aware of the mistakes that they're making with their qualified plans. It's going to show them that they're very expensive and, for the most part, irreversible. But the main purpose of the book, Top 10 IRA Mistakes, is to drive that client back to you to get a second opinion. So why would you want to focus your practice in the qualified market? Well, I'm going to give you a whole bunch of reasons. Let's start out at the top here. We know that 401k plans have all but replaced defined benefit pension plans. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a good thing. This is a gift. When the defined benefit pension plans were ruling the retirement industry, that money wasn't movable. It wasn't touchable because it wasn't a lump sum. It was a payout for the rest of their lives. Now that it's in 401k plans, they can move these plans. So this money is now available. We have 10,000 boomers that are making an IRA 401k rollover decision every single day. And most boomers' plans, their 401k plans, are worth more than the equity in their homes. And why is that important? Well, I'm only saying that to illustrate how important these 401k plans are to your clients. Over 70% of 401k, 403b, and TSP plans allow for what's called an in-service rollover or in-service transfer after attaining the age of 59 and a half. So the point I'm making with that particular bullet is you don't have to wait until they retire. You don't have to wait until they have a break in service. Right now, the market is absolutely roaring. It's at the very top. There's a lot of people out there that are concerned, well, what's going to happen to my 401k if we get another 2008 or 2002? Well, the answer is if you're over 59 and a half, we can solve that problem and address that concern. We have 4,000 seniors that are turning 70 and a half every day, going into forced distributions via our RMDs. And frankly, most of them are going into that clueless. And one of the number one mistakes that seniors that own IRAs today are making is they're failing to take that required minimum distribution timely. And folks, that generates a tax, and it also generates a 50% penalty. According to LIMRA, there's approximately $25.3 trillion in retirement assets. And LIMRA also predicts that the IRA rollover market is expected to increase to $515 billion a year by the year 2018. Well, that's next year, folks. So why qualify on, or why focus your practice on the qualified market? Is because that's where the money is, and that's where the opportunity is. And to continue with that, as I mentioned before, defined benefit pension plans are literally a thing of the past. Most boomers today are going to retire with their 401k, might be an IRA or an SEP, and Social Security. So Social Security and 401k plans have become the hot buttons for the boomers. And boomers very soon will represent the majority of the retirement market. So again, getting back to that question, why focus on the qualified market? Here's the answer. It's where the retirement market is growing. So here's a graph, and this shows the trend of individuals over age 65. Now, it goes all the way back to 1900. It's projected through the year 2030. But here's something interesting. If you go back to 1900, there were 3,000 individuals in this country that were over age 65. And look at this trend. So here we are today. We're in the 50,000 plus range. We got 10,000 boomers turning 65 every single day. And in less than 10 years, they will control the overwhelming wealth of this nation. So this money's going to go into motion. They're going to be inheriting 401ks, inheriting IRAs, and they're going to need help. And I can't stress this enough. This is clearly the biggest event in the history of the financial services industry. So what we're going to be talking about today is not accumulation, but we're going to be talking about distribution. So let me elaborate on that for a moment. During the accumulation phase, it's a very simple part. That's when they're making their contributions. Maybe they're getting employer matching funds. They only had three things to consider. Am I eligible to contribute? How much can I contribute? And where do I want to put the money? That was it. The IRS was giving them a tax break on their contributions and the employer matching funds, so they weren't being watched closely. There wasn't a lot of rules. But when they go into that distribution phase, folks, things change completely. Now, it's IRS payday, and the rules, the devil's in the details. There are so many rules. It's really difficult, particularly for the IRA owners that aren't skilled in financial planning, to make the right decisions. That's what we're going to focus on, distribution. So let's talk about your prospect. They've changed a little bit over the last 10 years. Today, your average prospect or retiree or somebody about to retire is going to have generally two sources of retirement income. One is going to be the money they saved in their 401k and or IRAs or other qualified plans, and the other is Social Security. And with both of these sources of income, they have three major challenges. Taxes. Oh, and incidentally, there's a big tax vote today. And guess what? If it doesn't go well, watch what happens to the market tomorrow. Anyhow, taxes, risk, and inflation. So if you look on the 401k IRA side of the equation, all three come into play. There is risk, particularly when the market's high. Right now, the PE ratios tell us that the market is due for a correction. Inflation, as interest rates go up, what's their money going to be worth? And taxation. So they have all three concerns. On the Social Security side of the equation, they have two primary concerns. One is, am I going to have to pay tax on my Social Security? And when is the best time to take it? Now, because I know you have email addresses, you're probably reading the same things that I'm reading. What I am reading is that these boomers, when they approach retirement or get into retirement, they are looking for the right advisor. They're not looking for an accumulation advisor. They're past that phase. They're looking for somebody with skills and expertise that can guide them through that distribution phase so that they can get the most out of their IRAs, 401ks, and other qualified plans. Now, where the qualified money is just as important as how much there is. Right now, and this is according to the Investment Company Institute, 47% of that $25 trillion is in mutual funds. There's an additional 36% in other securities. It could be stocks, bonds, REITs, etc. 10% in banks and thrifts, and a mere 8% is held in the form of annuity reserves by insurance companies. if you had the techniques to share with your client solid, logical reasons why when they go from that accumulation to that distribution phase, why they should consider annuities and why they should consider insurance companies, you would have some very, very powerful sales tools. Anyhow, if you add up the 47% in mutual funds to the 36% in other securities, the number comes out to 83%. So 83% of that $25 trillion of Americans' retirement money at one form or another right now is at risk on Wall Street in an inflated market condition. So this has created an immediate opportunity for those that sell annuities, life insurance, and managed money producers. So this is really all about how do you become the IRA rollover expert in your market area? How do you get in front of qualified prospects that have these large accounts? How do you attract them to you? What makes you different than their current advisor or other advisors available to them? And how do you become the expert in that in-service 401k rollovers that are available at age 59 and a half? And folks, that's huge because there's a lot of people out there right now working for big companies. They have hundreds of thousands and some millions of dollars in their 401k plans. It's almost all in mutual funds. They are worried about a market correction. Some of these people are in their 60s, some all the way up to their 70s, and they want to know, how can I protect myself from the impending market correction? Well, if you're over 59 and a half, I'm going to show you as we go through this. So how do you use IRA and 401k rollover opportunities to grow your practice? So we've developed this system, the IRA 401k rollover system, and it includes the book, Top 10 IRA Mistakes. This has been referred to as a seminar in a book that they can read at their convenience. It drills down deeper than you could possibly do in a 1-hour seminar. And we've also, as I said back in 2002, I began building the course Keys to the IRA Kingdom. We launched that nationally in 2005. And in 2010, we put the entire course online so that you can now learn these techniques. I'm going to be giving you samples of it as we go through this today from the comfort of your office or your living room, any place where you've got a high-speed internet connection. So let's get down to what you're really here to hear today. 5 practical IRA rollover sales techniques that you can use the moment you get off this webinar. So I'm going to slow down a little bit because this information is important. I want to point out these 5 techniques that I'm going to share with you today. Some come from the course Keys to the IRA Kingdom. Some come from the book Top 10 IRA Mistakes. So let's start with rollover technique number 1, the IRA beneficiary form. Now let me couch this. When you meet with a client, maybe you're doing a seminar or maybe you got a referral, the mistake that a lot of folks are making is, I want you to come into the office, let's sit down and bring your statements. Well, when you say that to a prospect, what are you really telegraphing to them? You're telegraphing this. I want to know how much money you have, I want to know where it is, and I want to take over management of it. And it really is kind of a turnoff because they hear this from advisor after advisor. What if you started differently and you said, hey, why don't you come into the office next Wednesday at 10 o'clock. I want you to bring in all of your beneficiary forms because this is where I find most of my clients are making mistakes. Hey, and you may want to bring your statements in case we need to refer to them. You've just distinguished yourself from every other advisor they have ever met. So we're going to jump into the whole beneficiary thing and how you can make this work in your practice. This is incidentally mistake number 3 out of the book, Top 10 IRA Mistakes, and that's not properly designating beneficiaries. And let me tell you, y'all know about the Stretch IRA, so I'm not going to walk you through that, but let me point this out. Only a designated beneficiary, and that is an IRS term, can stretch the IRA distributions over their individual life expectancies. Only a designated beneficiary can do that. And here's the catch. Only the IRA owner or inheriting spouse can designate beneficiaries for the purpose of stretching these distributions to the non-spousal beneficiaries over their life expectancy. So this is planning that has to be done in advance. This isn't something a beneficiary can do after they inherit. So there's 2 ways to set up these non-spousal beneficiaries. And I want to point out that there's what we call the 2-tier approach and the 1-tier approach. And I want to point this out. Most advisors, when they set up the beneficiary forms, are using the two-tier approach, and that is disastrous. That's why looking at that beneficiary forms is the springboard into capturing those accounts. So knowing the difference between the two-tier and the one-tier approach is critical to your client's success in terms of getting the most out of their IRAs, 401k. So let's walk through that. Here is the two-tier approach. This is what you're going to see. We have the IRA owner and spouse. So typically the IRA owner is the owner, the spouse is the primary beneficiary, and then we have the children as contingent beneficiaries. Well, we also have these two grandchildren to deal with, but here's the problem. That child, only the owner and spouse can designate that grandchild to be a beneficiary for the stretch purposes. When they've both gone, this child number one cannot do that. So what happens with this two-tier approach? It's very simple. Those grandchildren are disinherited. They may get some money if the child doesn't use it all up, if their parents don't use it all up, but they're not going to get the stretch options. They're going to have to pay all the taxes if there is anything left over, which is unlikely. So here's the key. Know the one-tier approach. Same thing. We have the IRA owner as the owner of the contract, the spouse as primary beneficiary, but now we used one tier. We put the children as contingents, and we also put the grandchildren as contingents, so they inherit at the same time. So what we accomplished here, remember, only the owner and the spouse can designate a beneficiary, giving that beneficiary the right to take stretch distributions as opposed to paying all the tax within a 5-year period. So this is the approach that works. And in this case, now the grandchildren are designated beneficiaries, designated by the owner and spouse, pardon me, and they cannot be disinherited. They're going to get that income, and they're going to be able to spread it over their life expectancies. This is the proper way to set up the beneficiaries. So how do you use this information to capture an IRA rollover account? Well, very simple. Most IRA beneficiary forms are set up using the two-tier approach. Spouse is primary, children is contingent, grandchildren excluded. You only have to ask one question to be on your way to capturing that account, and here's the way I would ask that question. Are you intentionally, your IRA forms, your beneficiary forms are okay, there's nothing really wrong with them, but one question, are you intentionally disinheriting your grandchildren? Folks, I've seen the expression on consumers' face 100 times when that question is asked, and I can tell you, they literally come out of the chair like, what? Disinherit my grandchildren? Are you kidding me? So you got to prove it to them. And here's how you do it. You run 2 Stretch IRA illustrations. There's a lot of software out there you can buy, or insurance companies provide it. Imagisoft has a great software package. Number one, child has a contingent beneficiary. So two, the children and grandchildren as contingent. So you run it 2 ways. So you run it with the children only as contingent, and the second way you run it is the children and grandchildren as contingent, as in the one-tier approach, all inheriting at the same time. So I'm just going to give you an illustration. We have a 65-year-old owner of an IRA. It's $200,000. His spouse is 65. They have a 35-year-old daughter, and they have 2 grandchildren, ages 11 and 14. And the amount of money in that IRA is $200,000. So probably this is what you're going to see. After the owner and the spouse are gone, 100% is going to be left to that child. So the owner taking out their RMD, we just used a hypothetical interest rate here, and in normal life expectancy, is going to withdraw about $177,000 in RMDs. And then the owner passes away, and let's say the spouse survives, she survives him. We're going to assume that she survives him by 4 years, no interruption of income during that 4-year period. She would take out $34,751 in RMDs. And then that child who inherits what's left over is going to have total RMDs of $584,000. So if you add all this up, that $200,000 IRA over 2 generations has paid out almost $800,000 in required minimum distributions. And when you look at that, say, well, that's pretty attractive. I'll do that. Well, here's why you shouldn't. Let's change these beneficiaries a little bit. Let's leave that child 60% and give both of those grandchildren 20% each. That's a total of 100%. So the same thing, $100,000 or $177,000 is going to be paid either way to the owner. The spouse is going to get the same. Now, this child's going to get a little bit less because we've included the grandchildren. But because these grandchildren have so much longer life expectancies, look at their incomes or their RMDs over their life expectancies. So now we've used over in the left, that's a two-tier approach. Over in the right is the one-tier approach. Total of all RMDs just jumped from 797,000 to over 1 million, and you can prove that by running two illustrations. That's 231,000, almost 232,000 higher stretch payout using the one-tier approach. Now, I want you to imagine yourself sitting with a client. You discuss this with them. You told them there's nothing wrong with your beneficiary form, but it's just not, you're not getting the maximum horsepower. You run them two illustrations. You show them the difference is going to be 231,000. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to say, I've got to fix this beneficiary problem. How do I fix that? And folks, that's when the money goes into motion, because here's the answer. I can fix this problem for you. But let me make a recommendation. I think you need to put your money in a safer place. Let's do that, and let's set up these beneficiary forms to get the maximum horsepower for those grandchildren from day one. How do you feel about that? And you're capturing the account. I'm going to jump into rollover technique number 2. This is one of my very favorite ones because it's based on pure logic. And I call this the split-funded IRA. This comes from the course, Keys to the IRA Kingdom. Now, part of the front end here comes from the book. It's mistake number 5, and that's having too much of your IRA at risk. Now, those of you that are in both insurance and securities license, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. There is nothing wrong with being in the market. There's nothing wrong with managed money. But having all of your money in the market, and particularly with the market as high as it is today, I would call that too much at risk. So bottom line is, if your client's going to need income from that IRA, or they want to leave a legacy for their children and grandchildren, risk is the fastest thing that can derail those well-made plans. So I'm going to read a couple of famous quotes to you to help drive the point home. The first one, the most powerful force in the universe is compound interest. Most of you probably know, and just to prove it, type that in the question box. That was Albert Einstein. And here's a more recent quote. Rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. Who said that? Legendary investor, owner, Berkshire Hathaway, Mr. Warren Buffett. And I want to point out, even Mr. Buffett found those rules very hard and then impossible to follow in 2008. Everybody lost money. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to lay this side by side. I want to talk about the power of compound interest. We're going back to Mr. Einstein. And I want you to imagine that the year is 2000. You invested $200,000. That's how much money you have. And what you're going to do, you're going to hedge your bet a little bit. You're going to invest $100,000 in the S&P account, and you're going to put another $100,000 in the fixed account that's going to compound at 3%. And let's see what the performance would look like through the end of 2016. Well, we all know the tech sector, we had a bubble there. So 2000 through 2002, big losses in the S&P. That 100,000 now is worth 59,000, and over here at 3% compounded, 109,000. It's almost 2 times as much. Now, when the market takes a hit like this 3 years in a row, what has to happen for them to recoup their losses? Well, you need some good market years, and that's exactly what we had. 5 in a row, 2003 to 2007. Look at that 1 year, 03, 26%, 2006, 13%. And guess what happened? It worked. You got almost all your money back. But here's a 7-year period where you didn't really make any gain, and over here your gain's 26,000. Then, unexpectedly, for most people, we all got caught flat-footed. The S&P dropped 38.5% in 2008. That 99,000 dropped to 61,000. And here we are in the fixed account at 131. Now, let me make a comment here. When we get down to the bottom of this, they're both going to have performed about the same. But what if your client was planning to retire in the early 2000s or in the year 2008? Well, guess what? They had to postpone that retirement and rebuild those accounts. And what about the people that had already retired and lost 40% of their retirement savings in 1 year? You know, a lot of these people were seeking employment in their late 60s and early 70s in an environment where we had double-digit unemployment. That didn't work. So let's see what happened. We had 2 good years in a row, 09 and 010. Now they're only back to 85,000. In the fixed account, 138. And let me just sum this up. We had a flat year in 11. We had a flat year in 15, and we had great gains the other 4 years. So now that S&P account is now worth 152,000. The fixed account, just a little more, 165,000. So there's $12,000 more in that fixed account. But that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is those that wanted and planned to retire in the early 2000s or in 08 or early 09, on that S&P account, it would have been difficult. On the fixed account, it would have been easy. Combination of the two probably would have worked just right. Let's move on. So they really have 3 choices. 1, you can take your IRA or 401k out of the market. Number 2, you can leave it in the market. But maybe there's a better choice. What about a combination of both? Let's see how this works. And I'm going to introduce this by talking about reverse dollar cost averaging. Required minimum distributions are based on the account value as of December 31st of the prior year. So December 31st of 2017 is the account balance that's going to be used to calculate the RMD no matter what happens throughout 2018. So let's say there's $500,000 in that account, December 31st of 2018, or of the prior year, and the owner is now aged 79. But the account value drops to $300,000. We had a repeat of 08. We lost 40%. Now we've got $300,000 left during the year that the RMD is taken. Here's the problem, and this is the rub. This required minimum distribution is still going to be based on that original $500,000, even though they've only got $300,000 left. Let's see what happens. We had a $500,000 account balance at December 31st of the prior year. The individual's age 69. The RMD percentage is 5.13%. They're going to have to take out $25,650 no matter what happens during that year. But before they took out the distribution, the market dropped. So let's take that distribution and you divide that by the current account balance. And instead of taking out 5.13%, they're actually taking out over 8.5%. So the bottom line is this: the IRA owner was forced to sell securities when the market was down because required minimum distributions aren't optional. So the required distribution in this case should have been 5.13% of the account, but because the account dropped, they actually depleted that account by over 8.5%. It's not a good scenario. A couple of years in a row like that, and you can see they're going to outlive their money. So here's the problem. During accumulation, the IRA owner had some control because they weren't forced to sell. During distribution or deaccumulation, the IRS forces the owner to sell up to the RMD amount no matter what the market conditions are. So they're forced to sell when the market's down, and folks, those losses are locked in. That money's gone. So we got to have a solution to this, and here's my solution. Leave some of your IRA in the market, move some of that IRA into an annuity. And we call this, and we're going to use a $500,000 example. We call this the split-funded IRA. So we started out on the top line there. We got $500,000. It's all in the market. We're going to split fund it. We're going to leave $250,000 in securities, and we're going to move $250,000 into annuities. Now we've got some agility and diversity, and here's how it works. Let's say that the market drops. Well, when the market's down, you can aggregate these two and take the RMD out of just one bucket because the annuity value won't go down. So when the market's down, take the RMD to satisfy both accounts out of the annuity. Now let's say we have a great year and the market's way up. Well, do the opposite. Take them, aggregate these two to 500,000, take the RMD out of the market funds to satisfy both. And guess what we just accomplished? We bought low, we sold high. Folks, they're never going to be forced to sell in a down market. What this does is it gives them choices, it gives them financial agility, and this is strictly based on fact and logic. And let me back up to that slide just for 1 second. When you explain this to a client, the level of logic in this explanation is going to motivate them to take action, because if you can poke a hole in this, please take a shot at it, but it just makes sense. Let's move on to IRA Rollover Technique number 3. And this comes out of the book, Top 10 IRA Mistakes. And in there, what my advice is very simple. Get your 401k and other company stock, get out of those plans. Convert them, all of those things, to an IRA. I'm going to give you some good reasons why. And this is mistake number 8, or chapter number 8 in the book. And that chapter is about not moving your 401k, 403b, and TSP plans and other plans to a more flexible IRA when you retire or after you turn age 59 and a half. Pardon me. So here we go. Why does somebody participate in a 401k, 403, or TSP plans? I submit this. There is only one reason to contribute to these plans, and here's the reason. Employer matching funds. Free money. Who doesn't want free money from their employer? It's the best game in town. Even if it lays flat, that free money is your gain. But when the contributions stop, the free money ends. It's gone forever. So when you retire or change jobs or whatever, the contributions to that 401k are gone, the employer company matching funds are gone, and the one reason to be in that plan is gone. It's time to get your money out of the plan, because the only reason to be in that plan has now been taken away. Move your money out. It no longer makes sense. So what should you do with those 401ks, 403bs, and other company or government-sponsored plans when you retire or turn age 59 and a half? You have two choices. You can leave the funds in the plan, or you can roll the plan to an IRA, or you can roll a portion of it to an IRA, whatever's going to work best. Everybody's circumstances are different. So let's take a look at leaving the money in the plan. Let me tell you what happens when people leave a job. Their last stop is human resources, and their first question is, what do I need to do with my 401k? And almost 100% of the time, the HR officer is going to say, you don't have to do anything. You can leave it right where it is. You don't have to do anything at all, no paperwork. You'll just have to start taking RMDs when you turn 70 and a half. And so that's what a lot of people do. Well, here's what they're faced with. Plan guidelines can restrict their access to their own money. The investment options are limited. I've seen 401k plans that had only 7 investment options. You have limited distribution flexibility to the grandchildren and their children and grandchildren, and the reason is 401k and 403b plans don't offer the stretch option because they don't want to administer those distributions, and you have no more free money. So that's what you're faced with, leaving it in that plan. Now let's take a look at rolling that plan, the 401k, 403b, whatever it is, to an IRA. A direct rollover. See, another thing that's going to happen, they say, well, if I try to roll that money out, the plan custodian said that they're going to withhold 20% for taxes. It's mandatory withholding. It isn't true. If you do a direct rollover, in other words, it goes from the current custodian to the new custodian of their choice, that avoids the 20% mandatory withholding. The money is still growing tax deferred. They haven't lost any tax advantages, but now they can control where the money is invested, and the entire universe of investments becomes open to them rather than the restricted number of investments offered by the 401k plan. And IRAs offer the Roth conversion, and they offer the stretch option. So when you look at this again from a logical standpoint, doesn't it make sense to roll that 401k or 403b or TSP into a more manageable IRA where you have more options? So now the age 59 and a half rollover opportunity, folks, this is huge. 403bs, TSPs, they allow in-service rollovers at age 59 and a half. 75% of 401k plans allow an in-service rollover at age 59 and a half. All company-sponsored plans allow a rollover when there's a break in service. So why wouldn't they do that? Because you can continue to make contributions and get company matching funds. So here's the scenario. The Dow and the S&P, they're all at an all-time high. I'm concerned. If it corrects, I could lose money. I could have another 2008. I could lose 40% of those savings. But if I'm 59 and a half, I can roll that out of the plan, continue to make contributions, continue to make contributions, and continue to enjoy company matching funds. So here's the opportunity. Most 401ks and other types of plans offer mutual funds. The market's at an all-time high. In-service transfers to an IRA can protect the principal from a market downturn, and the plan participants can continue to contribute after the in-service rollover, and they can continue to enjoy company matching funds, and they can dollar cost average as the market comes back up and make money. Folks, it's the best of both worlds. Protection of principal, and you're still getting company matching funds. So 401k and 403b planning can eliminate very costly mistakes for both you and for your family. Now let's move into rollover technique number 4. This is one of my favorites. You know, the best property a person can own in terms of cash is a Roth IRA. And the reason it's the best is it grows tax-free and it pays out tax-free income. So I've come up with a technique to do a partial Roth conversion with no out-of-pocket conversion tax. Now, the only reason everybody on earth doesn't convert their IRA to a Roth IRA is because they don't want to pay the tax. So if you can eliminate that pain point, if you can eliminate the tax on the conversion, what do you think most people would do? So let's take a look at how we do this. Partial Roth conversion with no out-of-pocket conversion tax. Here's how it works. We've got a $100,000 IRA, and the client's in a 25% tax bracket. Now, follow this real closely, because I'll give you the formula at the end, but follow this closely. So we got $100,000 in that IRA. The client's in a 25% tax bracket. I'm going to recommend moving $60,000 of that traditional IRA to a bonus annuity. Now, there's still some annuities out there that do pay a real 10% bonus at the end of the first year. That's the annuity I would pick. The remaining $40,000, I would convert that to a Roth and then transfer that to an annuity that has a bonus. We're just using 10%. These numbers can move around. So here's what they'll wind up with. They'll have $60,000 still in a traditional IRA. $40,000 is now a Roth. At the end of the year, they have $110,000 without any gain. That's just the bonus. So they've got a $10,000 bonus. They can take an $11,000 free withdrawal from a $110,000 year-end value. So that $11,000 comes out, no penalty. Let's go to the next slide. So now we got to deal with that Roth. We converted that Roth to $40,000 of that IRA to a Roth, and they're in a 25% tax bracket. So there's going to be $10,000 of conversion tax, assuming 25% of $40,000. And also, we're going to have to take some free withdrawal from the traditional IRA using the 10%, and that's going to generate another $1,500 of taxes. You add them together, the total tax on converting that $40,000 to a Roth is $11,500. Now we got a $11,500 total tax. We have an $11,000 free withdrawal because of the bonus. Now, that free withdrawal could be higher if they earned any gain on that annuity that first year. But worst case scenario, all they got was the bonus. They only have to come up with $500 out of pocket to convert $40,000 from a regular IRA to a Roth IRA, which would normally cost them $10,000 in conversion tax. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the formula. This will apply to any amount of bonus. It's going to apply to any tax bracket, but we're going to keep it simple. Here's the formula. You take the IRA balance times the annuity bonus equals the money for conversion tax. Then you divide that by their tax bracket, and that's going to equal the amount that they can convert to a Roth without having to go into their pocket to pay the conversion tax. Let's add numbers to it. IRA balance is $10,000 times the bonus 10% equals $10,000 to pay the tax. The tax bracket's 25%, so you divide that $10,000 by 25%, and you come up with $40,000 that you can convert to a Roth. That's the formula. Now, let me show you how flexible it is. Let's say, for example, hey, we may not have a 33% tax bracket next year, but we do this year. So let's say that tax bracket changes, and it's 33%. Using the same formula, the amount they can convert to a Roth is now $30,000. So this formula is going to work with any amount of bonus and any tax bracket and any amount of IRA. And this comes right out of the course, Keys to the IRA Kingdom. We have converted a portion of their IRA without any out-of-pocket conversion tax. What do we accomplish? A portion of their IRA is now a tax-free Roth. The bonus paid the conversion tax. There was no out-of-pocket tax for the owner. They still have 100% of their IRA plus any growth. But here's the key. Number 5 is the big one. You're going to capture the entire IRA account because all of the money has to earn bonus to pay the tax on the $40,000 we converted to a Roth. And folks, you can expect to get referrals. This maneuver has sold millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars of annuity premiums. And only a bonus annuity can do this. So you don't have any competition on Wall Street. You've got no competition in the banks. Annuity producers have the advantage on this particular maneuver. This brings me to our final rollover technique. And this one I like because there's 2 sales involved in this. And again, it's based on pure logic. And this is called the Insured Spousal Roth Conversion. I said earlier in the last segment that the only reason everybody doesn't convert their IRA to a Roth is they don't want to pay the tax. That is the rub, and that's the pain point. So I'm going to show them a way to take $1 million traditional IRA or 401k and do an insured spousal Roth conversion. So when the owner dies and the spouse inherits, they're going to be able to convert that $1 million traditional IRA to a Roth IRA, and they're not going to have to pay the conversion tax. Here's how it works. We're going to go to that traditional IRA owner, and we're going to say, look, we want you to buy a $400,000 life insurance policy. We don't care what kind it is, but you're going to need to have that, and here's why. When you pass away, that $1 million IRA is going to become your spouse's IRA. So here's what we do. We have the spouse convert the IRA to a Roth. We use the life insurance proceeds to pay the tax on the conversion. Now we have $1 million Roth IRA. We have $1 million growing tax-free, and we have future distributions. All the income that your spouse needs to take out will be income tax-free. What did it cost you to do this? It didn't cost you 40%. It cost you the premium on the life insurance. So there's 2 potential sales here. 1, $1 million into annuities or managed money, and 2, a $400,000 life sale. So those of you that sell annuities and manage money and sell life insurance, this is like it's built perfectly for your practice. So those are the 5 techniques. And just so you know, we didn't skim the surface of the information that you learn in the course, Keys to the IRA Kingdom. So I want to talk about IRA rollover marketing and IRA rollover training because that's where we started. The book Top 10 IRA Mistakes is updated annually. It gets recopyrighted every year, so it's always fresh. If in the middle of the year there's a major change, the book will be updated, so it's always going to be current. And I had some advisors, this is a new slide, I had some advisors call me about a month ago and said they've had a lot of success with this, building relationships with CPAs and other professionals. And I said, well, how so? And here's what I learned. CPAs, number 1, do not want to refer you to their clients. They're afraid, because you're not a CPA, that their clients are going to get bad tax advice and they made the referral. So for the most part, they don't want to refer you. Now, of those that don't mind referring you because you have a real relationship with the CPA, they're not salespeople. They don't know how to refer you. So what a number of advisors did is they just gave the CPA some seed books, said, I want you to read this. And when you have clients come in to do their taxes that have large IRAs or 401ks, give them a copy and give me a call. I'll follow up with a phone call to answer any questions they have, and boom, they just got that CPA referral. What I want to say about the book is this. The estimated $324 billion rolled from plans to IRAs each year, and you know that's going to go up to $500 billion next year. Americans have close to $25 trillion in their retirement accounts, and there's 10,000 boomers facing that rollover decision every single day. This book converts your prospects into clients. It's going to help them understand why coming back to you and getting that second opinion is going to save them thousands of dollars in penalties, prevent rapid taxation, and reduce excessive fees and loads. It's all in the book Top 10 IRA Mistakes. Now, last year we decided to make the book interactive. So at the end of each chapter, there's a place where they can take notes. They can write down their area of concerns. Now, this would be at the beneficiary, at the end of the beneficiary chapter. And when you flip the page over, there's a place where they can write down, I would like additional information about. And when you give them the book, you point that out to them. Here's a place for your notes, areas of concern, and any additional information you want, just write it down here. And when I see you next week, I am going to answer all of your questions. I am going to address all of your concerns, and I will provide whatever additional information that you request. So here's something we started doing recently. You now can have this personalized with your photo, bio, contact information, logo, etc. on the back cover. There's a one-time charge, and that's to get the cover produced, and it's only $90. Now here's another example. Just want to show you what it looks like. Now you notice we are not inferring authorship. Over here in the top left-hand corner where your face is, it says provided by. Here's another one. The reason why I wanted to point this one out, probably most of the people on this call today are dual licensed, meaning you are insurance licensed and securities licensed. I've done my homework with FINRA. All they require is that your securities disclaimer is at the bottom, and they recommend a certain type of font. We know how to do that. So, and incidentally, not one broker-dealer or RIA platform has refused to approve this for consumer use, so you're not going to have any problem getting it through. There's a lot of different versions of it. John, he's so good looking, he wanted a full-length photo. This is actually one of my favorite covers. So a case of books, with the custom covers, we can provide a case of 50 books with you on the back cover. It costs $530.50. That includes shipping. So when you take the shipping out, your real cost for the book is about $9.45, and the book retails at $19.95. So you get yourself on the back cover, and you're paying $10 less than retail price per book. Folks, it costs less than a lunch for one person. Here's another something. This is brand new. We decided that there's no need for me to have my face on the front cover either. So if you want only your photo on the back cover, here's what we decided to do. This is optional. Here's an example of an agent. His name's Ron. He's on the back cover, says provided by. He's got his logo and some of his accolades, what he does, and there's my face on the front cover. Now watch what happens to Ron when we take me off the front cover. You notice all of a sudden Ron's photo is more prominent. Let me back that up. Here it is. Here's me on the front cover, Ron on the back cover, and look at it again. Look at the difference. Just look at Ron. Now we're taking me off the front cover, and all of a sudden Ron's photo becomes more prominent. So I'm still the author. My name's on the bottom on that front cover. So IRA 401k rollover system. The complete system is the top 10 IRA mistakes. Folks, this will encourage the client to come back to you. They will have questions. They will have areas of concern, and they will want additional information. And folks, that's how you capture the account. And as I said, it's been referred to as a seminar in a book. And to back that up, if you can develop a client with the book, but you don't have the skills when you're sitting across from that client and they ask you a tough question. Let me give you an example. I've got $1.5 million in my 401k. 500,000 of it was after tax over contribution. I want to take that 500,000 since I've already paid tax on it and convert that 500,000 to a Roth and leave the rest alone. Can I do that? Well, the answer is no, you can't. It's anything you take out and converts pro rata. But if you hesitate on the answer to that question, that client's going to go someplace else. So that's why we have the keys to the IRA Kingdom. It's online. It's on demand. You can learn the secrets of IRA success from the comfort of your office, your home, any place where you've got a high-speed internet connection. It is smartphone and iPad compatible. I do the entire training. It's 10 hours. It's broken down into 5 two-hour modules. So you can now attend the keys to the IRA Kingdom online, on demand, at your pace. And you know, this allows you to get the training that's going to help you moving into 2018 without interfering with your prospecting or selling time. This is something you do with your spare time. You'll have access to the online training room 24/7 to get through the 10 hours of IRA distribution training. Incidentally, you can go back and go through that course as many times as you want. We do not disable your username and password. So if you need to go back for reference or a brush up, it's going to be there for you. Within less than 24 hours of the time you register, I'm going to show you how to register for those that are interested. You're going to receive an email, and that email is going to say in the subject line, your keys to the IRA Kingdom training room is open. This one you won't be able to miss. When you open up the email, it's going to kind of look like this. There's going to be a link. You click on that link. It takes you into the training room. You enter your username and password, and folks, you can begin training immediately. Some of you could begin training this afternoon if you wanted to. Also, there are some training materials. They'll be delivered approximately 5 days after registration. That includes a publication 590. It's been highlighted. We tabbed it. We re-indexed it. It is a powerful sales tool for IRA distribution planning because it lets you prove that everything you say is absolutely factual. And you don't have to take a lot of notes when you go through the online course. We provide 74 pages of typed pre-taken notes. That includes typed notes, all the graphics, all the charts, all the sales techniques, so you have a hard copy of everything. My course is $12.95, but we have a special arrangement with Insurance WebEx, and they drove a pretty hard bargain. Those of you that are on this webinar today, sponsored by Insurance WebEx, on this broadcast, we offer you a 50% discount. Here's how it works. I'm going to show you how to register in a moment, but when you do, you're going to find a place where you can put in the promotional code. Write this down. The promotional code in capital letters is KEYS, keys 50, no spaces. So keys 50 is your promotional code. When you type that in, that $12.95 will be cut in half. It'll be reduced to $647.50. So here, I'm going to show you how to register for those that are interested. Go to this website, www.irakeys.com. So it's IRAKeys.com. Leave that up for a second, those of you who want to write it down. That's going to redirect you to my website, which is keys-to-the-IRA-Kingdom.com. I just wanted you to have something short to type in your URL. So it's IRAKEYS.com. This is what's going to pop up. This is what my website looks like. Right here, this red button says Online Course Register Now. Click on that. When you do, it'll always say Quantity 1, and you'll notice the price is at $12.95. Now notice this big thing here, enter promo code on next page. So all you got to do in this page, just leave it like it is and click Add to Cart. Once you add to cart, under the blue lettering on the next screen, where it says right next to promo code, there's a field. Just enter in KEYS in capital letters 50. Now this is really important because I get a lot of phone calls. David, I didn't reduce the price. If you get down here and proceed to checkout, it won't work. You have to click this button. So once you put the promo code in, click the promo code button, and that's what happens. It subtracts $647.50. Your checkout price is $647.50. And folks, then it's like any online shopping cart. Just click proceed to checkout. It's going to take you right through the process. I want to say, hey, we came in under an hour. That's good. And I just want to thank you all for taking your time to be on today. If you want additional information about the Keys to the IRA Kingdom online training course or the top 10 IRA mistakes with your photo, bio, logo, contact information, etc. on the cover, I'm David F. Royer. That number, 214-705-0124, that is my direct line. And if you prefer email, my email is david@irakeys.com. I want to thank Insurance WebEx for sponsoring this training. And I want to thank all of you for being on. And I want to leave you with this one thought. 2018 is right around the corner. If you're going to get this information and you want to build your practice around IRA distribution planning and you want to capture those big accounts, get the training done and finished by January the 1st. Walk into 2018 being an IRA distribution expert. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being on today. I'll leave this up for a while in case you want to write down the number or my email address. Enjoy the rest of your week. We're coming up on Thanksgiving. It's family time. Thank you again. Make it a great day.